Good day, good evening, but if you clicked on this video, it's likely good morning. Hey, Pelicans Daily presented by Fan Arts. I'm your host, Dylan Bruton. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. You know the deal. This ain't no regular drill or whatever I say. It don't matter. It don't matter. We're here to talk ball. First off, I just want to say, hey, I don't want to take credit because one, I wasn't the first one to talk about it, but Jeremiah Fear selected number zero. I'm very excited. I think that Zero Fears is going to catch on. Make no mistake. Make no mistake. And if he balls out this rookie year like I expect him to, I think that that's going to be a tagline that stays with him forever. I think that's going to be something that defines his career, that defines who he is as a player. And I'm very excited for all the great social media captions that come from it. I think it's gonna work. You know what I'm saying? There's a method. Make no mistake. And Zero Fears, yeah, that makes you stand out. So as I talked about last episode, I talked about a matchup for Derek Queen, him playing Johan Behringer, right? Well, for Mr. Fears, he's going to be guarded up with Jalen Clark. Now, Jalen Clark was the Naismith DPOY at UCLA. So, in the same article that my boy Chris wrote up, he talked about the matchup for Jeremiah Fears. Now, for Jeremiah, I think that him going up against someone who was a DPOY, I think that's going to be huge for him. I just think that it's competition breeds stronger result. Competition breeds stronger competition, needless to say. You know what I'm saying? Like you rise up to the level of your play. And someone like Jeremiah Fears, who was able to shine at the biggest stage, he played well in the NCAA tournament, even though it was just him and Jalen Moore at Oklahoma. I think that the stakes of a summer league is perfect for someone like him. He's got a super high ceiling. There's so much to his game that already is, again, like he's got potential out the wazoo. So, with someone like him being matched up with a guy who was a DPOY in college, that's just fuel to his fire. And one thing I really like with Jeremiah Fears is he's very confident without overdoing it. You know what I'm saying? Clearly he was raised well. That's just something that I take away from watching his interviews, watching the way he conducts himself. He's a very professional young man, but he's very confident, needless to say. You know what I'm saying? I can just tell. And that's one thing that everyone who has been around him has said, like he's just got this. I want to, I'm gonna take something from the kids, but he's got that aura to him. You know what I'm saying? He's just got that magnetic. He's got that type of charm. You want to believe him, right? And he just got that star quality where he walks in the room, he stands out. So the summer league is all about finding a way to stand out because there's so many rookies, there's so many undrafted guys and international players trying to prove themselves. And make no mistake, I'm very excited to see who shines. I'm very excited to see who is able to take another, step. You know what I'm saying? Because that's also what it's about. It's about the guys that are fighting and clawing their way. But with Jeremiah Fierce, he's coming with big pedigree, a iconic name now, and jersey combination. So him going up against Jalen Clark, who was a great defender at UCLA. He was on that team with Jaime Jaquez Jr. But I think for Jeremiah, I think this is a perfect matchup for him. I mean, he's a guy that can break down his defender off the dribble. He can punch it at the basket, and he also is a threat. Now I know the jumper is definitely going to get more consistent, but make no mistake, he has the range. He's got the range and the confidence. Now it's a little bit audacious, personally. Even though maybe my comparison of saying like John Wall with Jamal Murray's jumper, that might be more audacious. But I saw Stephen A. Smith compare him to a young Kyrie, which I'm not gonna lie, watching the way that Jeremiah drives to the basket and the layup packages that he has, I fake can see it. So again, man, if you're telling me that we drafted a John Wall, Kyrie, pick 7, what? There's people complaining about that. Now he has to go out and show it. Don't get me wrong. I don't necessarily like throwing pressure, on players before they really get a chance to prove it. But we got to speculate. We got to wonder. We got to sit here and think about what can you be and what can you become. And him going up against someone who has defensive pedigree that was well respected in college. This is a perfect matchup for Jeremiah. This is a perfect introduction to the world and to us as a fan base, right, watching him. Because make no mistake, he's going to be under the biggest microscope as the 7th pick. He's going to be under the biggest microscope as someone who, to some people, not me, not to some of y'all. I'm really rocking with how y'all are seeing the vision. But some people are a little bit unconvinced. So, it just adds fuel to the fire. And for a guy who has no fear, hey, he's going to walk through the fire and emerge victorious. I got faith. Now, my guy, never easy, Mr. Peavey. I'm going to come up with a nickname. But, hey, he's in the Big Easy, so it works with his last name, Peavey. The Big Easy Peavey. Hey, if Pelicans social media, if y'all use that, just cut me like a little, cut me a little check. Or give me some regular season. Give me season tickets. In fact, I've seen some of y'all in the comments before say, y'all been offered tickets and don't want to go. How do you get free tickets to an NBA game and don't want to go? For the simple experience alone. I guess different scopes for different folks. Different strokes for different scopes. Different strokes for different folks. But Micah Peavey also has an intriguing summer league matchup. Now for him, he's going to be matched up against Leonard Miller, who 6'10", 7'2" wingspan, and was one of the top prospects in high school basketball of class of 2022, which is, I'm like, dang, that's when I graduated college. Wow. Dude, the young man from Canada went to the G League Ignite, betted on himself, unfortunately slid to the second round, and now he's on Minnesota's bench. But for Micah Peavey, right? Micah Peavey has a whole different situation going for him. One, he's rocking 14. He's rocking BI's number, which I said, oh, okay. All right. Hey, to me, I like the confidence though. I like the confidence. You know what I'm saying? BI, I'm a Duke guy, so I got nothing but love for BI. But hey, his number wasn't retired, so you have the right to change the narrative, to add to a potential legacy with that number now. Make the best of it. Do what you can. With Micah Peavey, as I talked about with him, he's not a guy who's a natural shot creator the same way that Jeremiah Fears is, but he can get a shot. He plays a little bit more of a bully ball. But as I touched on with him, his shooting, he became a 40% three-point shooter. So I think with a matchup where he's got a guy who's got height and wingspan on him, the key is for him to exploit different points of attack, to exploit any lapse of coverage. You know what I'm saying? The NBA today is so big on spacing, so big about how do you maximize your opportunity when there is the defense, when the defense is caught off guard. And with how much these guys move today, I think that's just the thing that's different with today's NBA versus the NBA I grew up on, maybe the NBA that some of y'all grew up on, is that there's a constant cutting, constant moving. It's very rare you see, like the days where one guy would just be on the perimeter, might do a little God sham God, do some moves from, do some bone killer moves, do some hot sauce moves from N1. Those days, a guy like Jeremiah Fears, I can tell, even though he's a little bit younger than that, he probably got some older cousins, older brothers that when he was getting his weight up as a hooper, they probably had him watch and study some stuff like that. So because he got that type of swag to his game, that's also why I like his game. It's very nostalgic. But with Micah, him being a coach's kid, I think that he's mentally, to me, I think mentally he's going to be the most prepared. Not saying that I don't think that Jeremiah or Derek aren't going to be prepared, but he's a coach. Micah Peavey is a coach's kid. He comes from a basketball family, and he's older. So there's an added layer of maturity, or as the elders would say, matureness, right? Some of y'all, hey, you hear your grandpa and granny. They don't say mature. They say mature. There's a certain level of maturity that he has, or mature, right? That is, I think, going to help him be able to adapt and adjust very well. And I think that with a guy like him who, again, has had to overcome a lot in his collegiate time, has had to be, persistent, had to be able to handle adversity in 3 different college stops, that says a lot to someone's character, truly. The fact that he won't, quit, the fact that he won't back down, the fact that he's gonna keep fighting and keep proving, and he definitely has a chip on his shoulder. Very, I watched his interview that he did with Monica McNutt, and again, also very well raised young man. Clearly, hats off to the Peavy family, and you can see the basketball, acumen pour out and ooze out. So I think for Micah Peavy, granted, he's not a superstar caliber athlete, but he's got athleticism on his side. He's got a versatile game, and I think again the maturity is going to help him. And with versus Leonard Miller, yeah, Leonard Miller has the athletic pedigree to quote unquote maybe win the matchup, but basketball does not come down to just athleticism and wingspan, because there's a lot of players who would be way better than they are or would have panned out and didn't. So you just can't go off just that metric and measurable alone. But my predictions personally, I think all 3 of them are going to have a very, very good summer league. I think Jeremiah Fears has the chance to walk away and become, win MVP of the summer league. And that's not like the end all be all, and that makes you become a superstar or nothing like that. But it's great for the confidence. It's great to do that and accomplish that. But I wouldn't be surprised if Derek Queen is on the first team for summer league, and I wouldn't be surprised if Micah Peavey is on the first or second team. I just wouldn't. I think that all 3 of these guys are going to come in ready to ball out, ready to play, and that momentum is going to be great for them to build off of when they go on to the regular season. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, yes, you're going to still have training camp, you're going to have preseason, but those type of moments are very valuable to building that confidence and belief of like, I earned my, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a reason why my name got called. And whether you're a first round pick or second round pick, to have your name called in the NBA, those are odds that are such 1 in a million. Seriously. So, for that to happen, for that to take place, you got to salute it. You got to respect it. So I'm very excited to see with each of these. And as the summer league is getting closer, there are going to be matchups that come up that I'm definitely going to break down, and definitely, aspects of their game when they're playing. So just be on the lookout for that. But I think, yeah, this first summer league matchup versus Minnesota, that's going to be must-see TV. I know, what I'm saying, whether I'm there, hey, who knows? Stay tuned. Whether I'm there in person or watching through League Pass, I'm excited. Y'all should be too. Now, so, these last few episodes, it feels like, I've been on Chris's head a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But it's all love, like I said. In my family, if you don't get roasted or called out a little bit, you're not as loved, You know you're loved if you get called out. You know you're loved if you do get roasted a little bit. It adds character. It builds a layer of toughness. And never nothing malicious. Just you got to be able to. You got to be able to take a joke. If you can't take a joke, then don't make a joke. That's how I look at it. That's how I was taught. You know what I'm saying? That's why my humor is so self-aware. Like I can make fun of myself better than anybody can. I know my weaknesses. I know what it's like a rapper who can battle rap himself, right? You just have to have that type of self-awareness of yourself. Um, but my guy Chris Lambert though, he's trying to he's fighting the war of New Orleans sports fans versus Atlanta, and I'm totally supportive of it. I totally respect it. I say this as someone who lived in Atlanta for like about 4 years. I got none but love for the A. Truly, anybody who knows me knows. I speak incredibly fondly of Atlanta. But he wrote an article about how we can get our revenge on on the Hawks, especially after what occurred on draft day with us trading, pick 23 to get pick 13. Obviously, don't forget the 2026 first round. Yeah. But the Hawks, right? Let's talk about the Hawks. So, shout out to Bryson Graham. He's doing his thing. Still, I gotta salute it. Anybody who goes from being, the donuts and coffee guy and carrying around office supplies to becoming the man in the big chair making decisions. Hats off to you, my brother. Salute sincerely, and I hope I hope Atlanta treats you well. Like Atlanta. Hey, any Atlanta sports fans that are watching this, make sure to treat Bryson and the Graham family very well. Seriously, class act, consummate professional. The brother loves hoops, and he's one of ours. So treat him well. Treat him with respect. But the front court now for the Hawks is a bit crowded. You know what I'm saying? They still got Onyeka Okongwu, who I'm very high on. I think he's very talented. Love his game since he was at USC. And now they got Kristaps Porzingis, who y'all heard me talk about in plenty of videos as someone that we potentially might make a trade for. And in truth, I think Porzingis could have fit with us with his skill set, but I think ultimately, Atlanta is going to be a good fit for him, and it'll allow him to step in right away, contribute, and also be a teacher to the Onyeka Okongwus of the world, and Asa Newell, who also was brought up and Chris Lambert is upset that we didn't get, and I talked about Asa Newell as well, and I talked about him in multiple videos, very high on him. You know what I'm saying? Salute to the Georgia kid getting to go to the hometown team. Again, I think that's always dope. I love seeing that. But we're talking about Clint Capela. Now, Clint Capela is likely the odd man out because that makes for a very crowded front court. He's he had previously been on a 2-year, $45 million deal, but he's likely gonna sign a 5 to 8 million a year deal. And with us, given that we have a 5.7 million from the taxpayer mid-level exception, we can afford a contract like that. You know what I'm saying? And that's someone that, as a player, Chris was talking about how a guy like Eve has been compared a lot to him, and I've made a lot of comparisons with Eve to Clint, to Tyson Chandler. You know what I'm saying? Love Tyson Chandler's game. And he was a champion in Dallas. I think that's like a perfect, I don't want to say ceiling, because I do think Eve, I don't think we even know the capacity of Eve's ceiling, personally. You know what I'm saying? I don't. I think that's what makes him such an intriguing prospect, because the fact that he showed that much promise in year one, hey, salute. I think the potential is very high, and he's young. He just turned 21. Just got allowed to go on Bourbon Street and hang with the fellas. So I'm rooting for him. But having a teacher like Clint, who there's a lot of things that he can mimic and learn from play style wise, I think would not be the worst idea in the world. Last year, Clint Capela averaged about 9 and 9 and a block on 54% shooting, and he's a career 12 points per game, 10 and a half boards, a block on nearly 62% from the field, which is fourth in NBA history for active players. Hey, Clint Capela's had a great career. He's been, in his 11 years in the NBA, he's been a part of 8 different playoff. He's been a part of 8 different playoff runs. I mean, and we know the Rockets have. When he was on the Rockets, we know the Rockets. They came close several times. They were in the Western Conference Finals. They just had the misfortune of running into the Golden State Warriors at the apex of their dynasty. But the Rockets, you know what I'm saying, they got a lot of great production out of Clint Capela, and the Hawks got some great production out of Clint Capela. And at this stage of time, he's 31. He still has some great high level basketball ahead of him and in front of him. And as a pick and roll guy, as a rim runner, and as another defender, and as another big with size, I'm all for it. I am. And for without breaking the bank, absolutely. You get more bang with your buck. And I think about the long-term impact of him being around Eve, right? Maybe even a guy like Hunter Dickinson can learn from him. And definitely Derek Queen is going to learn from him. Definitely. So I'm all for us getting the right veterans. I don't want us to just get veterans for the sake of having veterans, because that could be a roster spot that could go for a younger player with a high ceiling. But a young player could learn a lot from a Clint Capela on our roster, especially a young big. And for Eve and Derek and even Zion. Even Zion, right? Zion's in a weird space as a power forward, small forward. You can throw him at the point. He's also a jack of all trades. But given that versatility, given that ability to do different things, but being able to learn from someone who has the fourth highest field goal percentage of any active player, yeah, there's definitely insight that he can provide. Make no mistake. Everybody can be a teacher. I've picked up game and learned wisdom in the collegiate classrooms and outside. It just doesn't matter. I'm a firm believer that you can learn regardless of where you are, from who, and as long as you keep a open perspective and you're able to look at things through objective and critical thinking lenses. That's what it's all about. Now, my favorite part of the video. Got a lot more time on my hand because I didn't start off with any rants. I didn't start off with any soapbox material. So I'm gonna respond to a good amount of these comments. Well, within reason. But I'm gonna start with a comment. I'm gonna start because there was a good mix of comments here. I gotta say, I was very pleased. Like I said, I enjoy all the comments, even the ones that are negative. Because you gotta have both. You gotta have positive, negative. Not everybody is gonna like you. Hey, and I always think back to the great Bernie Mac, one of my favorite all-time comedians and actors. What he told the kid in House Party 2 about if people don't like you and if people don't rock with you. I'm not gonna quote that because I'm not at liberty to, but I gotta keep it PG. But if you've seen House Party 2, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Very iconic quote. But first I gotta respond to Brother Jan. Now he said, the media said the Pels made one of the dumbest moves ever. Okay, but you know what nobody is talking about? The Lakers didn't have a single 2025 first round pick. Ooh, we cooking. Talk to them. Not a peep about it. They are allowed to move like that. The Pels just have a branding and image issue. Pels could even move assets to get back into the 2026 first round. Brother Jan. Yes, facts. Yo, again, image and branding is so huge. Perception, reputation. Don't get me wrong. The Lakers deserve all the respect in the world. The consummate blue blood franchise. Them and the Celtics, you can't talk NBA history without talking about those two teams. And with the Lakers, they still have the luster. They still have the fandom. I meet Lakers fans anywhere I go. Whether I'm out west, whether I'm down south, whether I'm up north, it don't matter. You know what I'm saying? Anywhere under the sun. Even I've gone overseas and met people who are Lakers fans. They're a brand that goes bigger than just basketball. And it makes sense. They've had so many iconic players, so many amazing players that were larger than life, and all the celebrities at the game. It's an experience. I've been to Staples Center, not for a Lakers game, for some Clippers games, but I have seen the Lakers up close. I just have not gotten to see them at, well, whatever they call it, crypto arena. It's always, look, your mama, his mama named him Clay. Right? Like what they named the stadium Staples Center. That's what I'm gonna call it. If anything, I felt like, they should have went back to the Forum from the '80s and renovated that. That would have been dope. But I'm not the one in charge, and now they got new ownership. I was gonna say I could address my concern to the Bus family, but nah. And hey, and right underneath now got a comment where I was very intrigued. I was like, I wonder if he's a family member. But my guy Brandon Peavey 9718, he was over here doing work in the comment section. So hey, salute to you, my man. Salute to you. I see you fighting a good fight, and I see you talking ball. I could tell you know the game. And he said that's right. If it would have been the Lakers with a similar move, it would have been the best move ever. Mainstream media doesn't like the Pelicans. Facts. No, I swear. I hope Queen and Fears ball out and shut them up. Go Pels. Yeah. Exactly. So to address it, right, the Lakers didn't have a first round pick this past year. They didn't. They did not. They had one last year. They got Dalton Connect, who I've talked about on this channel before as a guy that if we had potentially got into trade talks with him, he likely would have been included as a young, promising piece. And then obviously, most notably, they picked up Bronny in the second round last year. And, there's a lot of talk and speculation about, is Bronny a pro, XYZ. I think that Bronny is going to be a great role player for the Lakers and just in the NBA. I don't necessarily see him as a star. Now, I think he would have made a killer football player. I think Bronny would have been an amazing free safety, receiver. Like, he would have been a stud. He's got a football build to his game, and he's got the explosiveness. But I personally think Bryce is going to be the better pro player. But that's neither here nor there. But I'm still rooting for him. Still want to see him do well. LeBron is one of the greatest NBA players and just athletes that we'll ever see, and it's amazing to see, his sons be able to also rise and exceed to greatness. And obviously, yes, LeBron is any father in that predicament. I will say this, right? Any father would do what LeBron is doing. Maybe not to the same degree of like, I'm going to bring you to the same exact team as me, but I'm going to utilize whatever connections that I have. I put in this time and work to get to this point where I can call the shots and where I can, look out for my kids and provide them with an opportunity. Now, what they do with that, that's on them. You're your own man by that point, but I can open doors that were not open for me initially until I grinded and improved myself. And that's, as a man, that's what you want. That's what you do it for. You do it so you can make your, the next generation of your lineage easier. They can have it better. But they still got to be able to uphold the standard. They still got to be able to uphold the level of excellence. So, I got a lot of respect for LeBron, truly. Do I think he's the GOAT? No. I think he's the third greatest of all time. I think MJ and Kobe got him. But yeah, I think LeBron is one of the greatest, one of the best faces of the league. And, it's going to be sad to see him go. It's coming sooner than later, you know what I'm saying? And he's also a fellow member of Capricorn gang. I don't know, not to get on the Zodiac thing, but his birthday's the day after mine. So I always gotta show love to that. I'm the 29th and he's the 30th. So, hey, we born after Christmas, But exactly, though, image and perception is everything. If the Lakers went and found a way to trade into this draft, and they had to give up unprotected first-round picks, nobody would be, I mean, don't get me wrong. There would be scrutiny, but it wouldn't be the same because they've got the winning franchise history. Plus, they've got a young star like Luka waiting to take the baton from LeBron. So, there's not going to be that same type of pressure and that same type of expectation. It's just not. It's not how it works. And if they had gotten young talent like Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen, oh my God, the media would be, oh my God, the Lakers, right? You just know how it goes, right? We can't, I know about LeBron's favorite sandwich order when it comes to what the media is going to report on with the Lakers. It just comes with the territory. Just like in the NFL, we got to hear about the Cowboys every year. They haven't won a Super Bowl since '95. It's just how it goes. When you are one of those big franchises with history and iconic players, they're going to report on you more, especially when you're in one of those top media markets. That's something I learned as a journalism student. It when you are in LA, New York City, DC, Miami, there's a different type of pressure versus New Orleans. For all intents and purposes, like, it's a good media market, make no mistake, but it's not seen on the same level and scale. So therefore, when we do something big, it's like, whoa, what are y'all doing? What's going on? It's like we're taking the necessary risk and chance to level up this team. What you mean, what are we doing? That's what the hell we doing. Next comment I want to respond to, Paul Nguyen, I believe is how you pronounce his name, 2227. If it is Nguyen, I do apologize, Paul, but love the comment. Our draft was good to me. Young, explosive point guard and a solid power forward and a small forward shooting guard. Plus Dickinson as a center, power forward, as an undrafted free agency. Paul, exactly. We addressed a need because, granted, I love Jordan Poole's game. I'm just gonna say it. I got nothing but love for Jay Poole, because there is a personal tie connection. I'm a little biased, yes, admittedly so. And he's the same age as me, so that's a guy literally who I could have gone to school with. So there's a little bit of bias there. Is he a point guard? No, he's more of a two that can play point, but he kind of leans more. So right. Regardless of what happens with him, I think the competition, I think them two paired next to each other is going to be good for both of their games. I think they're going to both keep each other on their toes, right? Sometimes you got to have that level of competition. To speak back to the Lakers, Kobe got drafted into a situation where he was playing behind Eddie Jones. Eddie Jones, when we were the Charlotte Hornets, or before, I guess you could say before, like, New Orleans, we got moved over. But Eddie Jones was a really good player for the Hornets. But he was a great player for the Lakers. He had so much hype on him at one point. He was just a very quiet guy, so he didn't get that level of push that others would. But Kobe had to play behind him. He was an all-star. Kobe had to, in a way, play behind Nick Van Exel. Nick the Quick, Soprano the Rock, handle like Van Exel. I mean, Hov got those bars off on on Beyonce's like biggest single with Crazy in Love. Like Nick Van Exel was a special player. Even a guy like Sedale Threat, who was a solid role player, was ahead of Kobe. So Kobe had nothing was handed to Kobe. Kobe had to prove himself. And that's the lore of Kobe, of proving himself time after time when expectation and a little bit of scrutiny and doubt was placed on him. And he rose to the occasion. Now, am I throwing any of our young guys into that Kobe comparison? No. But what I'm saying is that when you got young talent, it's good for them to compete. It's good for them to get a chance to, show and prove. Because, hey, I can prove to you better than I can tell you. Seriously. So I agree, though. So we got, a young explosive point guard, and we got a power forward center, depending on how you look on it, and then depending on what lineups in Fears and Derek Queen. Very high on them, as y'all have heard me talk. And then Hunter Dickinson as an undrafted free agency. Absolutely. There's little risk in getting a guy like Hunter Dickinson, right? He doesn't do well. Okay, you cut bait. You move on. But he does play well. He does show out. Then now you've got a solid guy off the bench, height, the ability to play right at the basket, post game, improving 3-point shot. There's a lot to be positive of. There's a lot to take away. And that's just what comes from the value of team building. That's what happens when you build with depth in mind. When you build, hey, how do we get as many quality players in this roster? We don't want to be top heavy. We don't want to just have a good starting five and then the bench comes in and it's like the replacements. With my guy Keanu Reeves, when he plays Shane Falco. That's one of my favorite sports movies of all time. Right? You want to have a team that's ready to be in there in the bench. The bench is ready to uphold and upkeep the same level of play. Seriously, right? Look at OKC and Indy. Their benches were deep. There's a lot of guys on those teams that are probably going to, teams are going to call about, make no mistake, and could be starters elsewhere. So, that's what we're trying to build. We're a small market team. We just had a small market NBA finals. So we got to look at them as a great example. I want to circle back to what Brother Jan said. Yes, we could also move assets to get back into the 2026 first round. Absolutely. The glass is not empty. It's half full. There's going to be teams that are going to get desperate. There's going to be teams that are going to be like, I need a young scoring guard, or I need some, and we've got a deeper team than people realize. So hope is not lost. It sucks to lose the first round pick. I'm not going to, sugarcoat it and BS y'all. It sucks. Especially, in a draft that, God forbid, especially with how I'll be talking, God forbid we don't do well, but the top portion of next year's class, this is crazy to say, but I think it's better than this one. I think this draft has more more so there's more depth in this class. I think there's going to be a larger pool of talent, but the top level talent of next year with guys like AJ DeBansa, Darren Peterson, Cam and Cade Boozer, Elijah Arenas, Koa Pete, those guys are special. It makes me feel old though. I'm like, geez, these guys is like a decade younger than me. Man, I can't believe it. But no, absolutely. I think there's a lot to be excited about, and I think that we have we got a lot to look forward to, and we could easily move back into the first round, easily. I think people are underrating that not everybody is necessarily needing. Now, granted, let me say this. Check us out, the CJ with him as the CBA president. I think teams are going to get back the value in the draft, but there's going to definitely be teams who are going to be like, look, man, you can have this pick. And who knows what that pick turns into. It's just all about the odds. It's all about the, because it's a lottery, you know what I'm saying? Now, some people have alleged that certain things might get moved around and fixed. And, going all the way back to the first year of its inception, 40 years ago, when the Knicks had when the Knicks won the draft lottery to get Patrick Ewing. I'm not going to say anything particular, but if you know, that's all I'm gonna say. So that's just kind of how we look at it. There's opportunity for us to get back. Now, Randy Allen and 430 said, I like how when the Thunder has 10 potential starters, it's genius, but when the Pelicans have 10 plus starters, it's a disaster. Thank you. Like, why do we get penalized for having depth? Why? The teams want to have depth. You want to be strong from your starting five to the next five off the bench. And shoot, if you can have players 12 through 15 as well, who is complaining about that? Who's got an issue with that? But I'm with you, Randy. I'm with you. And he said they sound like clowns hating on the Pelicans. They all want Zion to be traded to their team is what's going on anyway. I love every move Dumars has made. Thank you. Yo, like every article being about a Zion trade, and then I'm hearing people, oh, well, Zion isn't going to last till he's 30. Oh, Zion is not going to be able to hang in New Orleans, blah, 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 blah. Man, y'all all want Zion. Keep it a buck. I know as much as there is talk about he hasn't reached the ceiling, or even people is going as far as to call him a bust, which I'm like, I think we've just lost the point of it all. You know what I'm saying? A bust does not average 25, 7 and 5. Please show me in any part of sports history where a bust puts up numbers of that caliber. You could look at it in football terms, you can look at it in baseball terms, regardless of whatever sport. But in basketball, 25, 7 and 5 is a bust? If that's a bust, then I would love to hear your definition of a star. Please show me in your dictionary, your Rolodex, your encyclopedia, whatever you got, because that's crazy talk. But Randy, I'm with you, my man. Exactly. We got 10 potential players that could all be starters. That's how you build a team. Seriously. And I'm not just saying this because I've won many championships in my 2K career, but but looking at the greatest teams throughout NBA history, right? They never were just starting five. Never. No dynasty that we've ever witnessed in the NBA was just the starting five. No, they had a strong starting five and they had a strong bench. That's what it comes down to. Seriously. So I love the comment, and exactly, we gotta trust what President Dumars is doing. He's got success in his past. Yes, I know the Pistons weren't able to get back to that level that they were from 03 to 08, afterwards. But I'm a firm believer of if someone can do something once, they can definitely do it again. And President Dumars, Hall of Famer, one of the best shooting guards in his day, native Louisian. He cares. President Dumars cares. That's what it's about. You want someone who is invested, who believes. You know what I'm saying? So, hey. Now, like I mentioned, the negative. Now, my guy, because I do appreciate the perspective. It's always good to have a mix of both. Ain't no such thing as just all positive. I never just want to have people who agree with me. I like dialogue. I come from a family who, loves to debate. So that's kind of where I get it from. I'm wired by my upbringing and my foundation, but it served me well. And granted, I had to work because, I was a little bit of a hothead at one point in time. So I had to learn how to, kind of chill out, mellow out. But my guy, Francisco Pomar 2942 had some very interesting thoughts, but this one in particular. This one, actually, no. The first one, so when I mentioned about the sideline ticket, that was the first time I seen it, but he said, dude offered me sideline tickets to go with him. And I said, for what? They ain't worth the price of parking and food and time for. Nah, I'm good. They've been sucking for way too long. Ask Mikey or Mickey. He might have meant to put Mickey. You need to talk about Mickey Loomis. Now, there's not much positive that I can say about Mr. Loomis, unfortunately. But I'm going to be professional. Not against him character-wise, but just in how he's running the Saints. I'm just not the biggest fan. But I think he said, Mikey or Mickey said no too. LOL. They like at least 5 years away from a playoff game. Francisco, I want you to go watch some film of Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen. I want you to look at the way that they play, and now I want you to picture our roster, right? And don't look at the roster just from how they were playing last year. Look at how we were in 2023, 2024 when we won 49 games. Now, subtract B.I. and C.J. and add Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen. And don't forget Micah Peavey, right? Add them to that team. Tell me that's not a 50-plus win team. We won 49 with that roster. Tell me that's not a 50-plus team. If they hit their absolute ceiling. Keyword. If they hit their absolute ceiling. So, and then he had a lot of comments, but the second one that I will respond to, and this one had me rolling. This one had me dying. He said, I'm curious how much the Benson Media Group is paying me. Oh, no, that had me dying, y'all. Paying for this BS. Zion is a multi-year bust, which I'm like, what? That's crazy work. Yo, if the Benson family was paying me, hey, look, the setup would look a little different, and you might see me courtside. I could tell you first and foremost, I'm not being paid by the Benson family. I want to make that very clear. If I do, you'll be able to tell. I'll be moving and smelling different. Rest in peace to Tom Benson, great owner for the Saints. But he said Zion is a multi-year bust. 25, 7, and 5, my man, is not a bust. Has he become the face of the league superstar that we drafted him to be? No. But to act like it's doom and gloom and it's over, I'm not with that. 25, 7, and 5 are not bust numbers. If those are bust numbers, I would love to hear your idea of success and your idea of a superstar. Please do tell. They tried trading him. Nobody wanted to give nothing decent for him. I don't agree with that. I don't believe that there's really been a serious trade package for Zion. Maybe in the 2023 offseason, when his focus was outside of basketball. I'm gonna keep it like that. But he was having a little too much fun doing what adults do. Maybe there was a trade package there. Maybe. But I don't think that there was anything legitimate that was truly put together that truly was gonna go through. There might be talk, but just because there's talk, it don't mean that anything is gonna happen. Superstar, LOL. Next, Dyson Daniels was a great prospect. We traded for an injury-prone baby with way too many excuses. They fired Griffin and kept Willie Green. WTF, Willie Green has been outsmarted in every important game he's coached in, so we've already been sucking for over 10 years. Well, I'm not going to disagree that we should have gotten rid of Dyson Daniels. I'm very high on his game, but at the end of the day, it's possible that Dyson Daniels doesn't grow to the player that he becomes if he doesn't leave New Orleans. That's a possibility. I would have loved for us to keep him. So I'm not in full disagreement with you there, but with David Griffin, I mean, he took us as far as he could, and you got to make decisions that are tough, but they happen. And with Willie Green, I disagree with you. I disagree with you on that. I think Willie Green has worked with the best of what he's had given with this roster. And I think Willie Green is a great basketball mind. Is he, am I putting him on the Coach Popovich and the Phil Jacksons of the world, legendary? No. He's got ways to go. And he's got ways to go before to prove himself as a top coach in the league. But, the players love him. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing. I've heard, people talk about there is, dysfunction within the front office, anything like that. I've never heard anyone say Willie's a bad coach or a bad guy or they didn't like playing for him. I've yet to see anybody say that. And if I'm wrong, prove me wrong. We've already sucking for over 10 years. That's not true. We've gone to the playoffs multiple times in that span. Sure, are we at championship level? No, but we're building. Right now, a new dawn and day is upon us. Seriously. So, hey, wake up, smell the roses. Trading away your upcoming first round pick when you have a chance at the number one pick is dumb. Zion is a gamble at this point. Well, there's no guarantee that the Bucks are gonna suck. There's just not. And, yes, I'm not denying that trading a first round pick is a little bit crazy, but you got to take leaps of faith. Francisco, actually, his name might be Francis. If your name is Francis, I do apologize. I'm not trying to be disrespectful or nothing like that. Just because you have comments that I don't fully agree with. I'm taking the time to let you say what you got to say. If your name is Francis or Francisco, though, I do apologize. But Zion being a gamble, yeah, sure. There are things that Zion gotta stay in shape. He's gotta stay healthy. But his production on the court when healthy, we've seen what he could do. We saw him nearly beat. He outplayed LeBron in that game in 2024. I don't care what no one says. Go watch the tape. Go watch the highlights. That is who Zion is. When the pressure is on, that's who Zion is. And if he locks into that version fully, you're not going to be having no talk about him being a gambler or a bust. You're going to be Zion, Zion, Zion. And when someone gives you free tickets, my man, you got to, hey, look, take them. Because when we become good, them ticket prices are going to rise up. And I don't want to hear you going, man, I can't go to a Pelicans game. I'll be like, dude, you had chances. You had opportunity. It's coming in fast, taking more injuries. Franchise can continue to give the bum vacation after vacation. I'm glad I gave up my season tickets 6 years ago. I ain't missed nothing. Well, all I'm going to say is, if you don't like the team so much, man, why don't you just, root for someone else as nicely as possible? Because, look, we're trying to change the culture. And if you don't believe and you don't want to buy in, that's cool. Everything ain't for everybody. But I think you should add some positivity to your life. And I think you should look at things from, you should look at things objectively from what can be achieved and also what is possible. Seriously. If everybody is healthy and playing well and locked in and firing on all cylinders, we got a great team. I truly believe it. I've been saying it for a while too. So hey, whatever. You got your perspective. I hear you. I don't agree with you, but it's all good. And I'm gonna end with two with you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna end with my favorite comment. But I also want to shout out to Booby Lasso. I do apologize if I got your last name wrong, because that sounds like a French last name. So my last name is French too, pronounced Bruton. But in the American sense, it's just Bruton. He said, you got a good perspective about the team, my guy. Like the comment. Appreciate you. Much love. And then Gerald Tate 8917 said, got so many Pelicans haters. I can't wait. Praying for no injuries. Facts. Why are we hating on the team? As fans, as supporters, we have to do our job and pour into them. So go Pelicans. Woo woo! And then, so we killed. This is from Nola P 2763. This is the last comment I'm going to read. We killed it. Losing the 2026 draft pick stinks. Agreed. But we got two guys I would have been happy with taking at 7. We got a young De'Aaron Fox type of point guard. Ooh, I like that comp. Like that. Yeah, I like that. Look, I saw someone also, Christopher Church 2653 said his fear's a little like AI. Look, y'all, hey, personally, AI was my favorite player of all time. I wrote my senior thesis on Allen Iverson, so I could talk for hours and hours about AI. I got to briefly meet him and get to take a picture with him or nothing like that. Came to my homecoming, but I love AI. Yeah, if Jeremiah Fears comes anywhere close to the ceiling of, John Wall with Jamal Murray's jumper, Kyrie, like what Stephen A is saying, De'Aaron, like what Nola is saying, or like AI with what Christopher Church is saying. I mean, dude, we'll have one of the best picks of the draft easily. It could have the best pick in the draft, depending on how everyone pans out. And then a Nas Reed type of big who just got a huge payday. Facts. I love Nas Reed's game, and I think Nas Reed is only going to continue to get better, which is why the Timberwolves smartly paid. And with Derek Queen, there is potential of like that. That versatility is a big, that multi-skilledness. So I love it. If those two can be anywhere close to those two, we golden. Thank you. Exactly. That is the mentality. If they can reach that ceiling, then we are happy. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Things happen. You move on, dust yourself off and try again. Word to Aaliyah. But you gotta have that type of mindset of making the best of what you got. And he said, loving the roster. For the bigs, we got Zion, Missy, Queen, and I'll be forgetting about my guy Carlo. I'm gonna talk about him next video. Promise. So yes, we're loaded the bigs. Wings, Trey Murphy III, Herb, Bay. I'm trying to think of Bay, but maybe the spelling or something like that. Maybe he might have been talking about Peavey. But Brandon Boston, yes, and then guards Poole, Fears, Hawkins, Jose, and then DeJounte. Obviously he's hurt, but still deep and talented. But as always, it will depend on the health. Thank you. We are a deep team. We've got a lot of guys who are ready and able to play high caliber ball. And as long as they stay healthy, as long as, they produce, we got a squad that is going to be able to do a lot in this Western Conference. And we're in a very tough division. Make no mistake. I talked about OKC, Houston, San Antonio, Dallas. All these teams are seen as are likely going to go to the playoffs. But guess what? We can punch our ticket too. We can punch our ticket too. Mark Semino, 4127, one of my favorite viewers. Pelicans is a 50-win team this season if we don't have major injuries. Agreed. Facts on facts. So that's the way I want to end this video. Or all-time great, love him. Go Pels. Facts. Go Pels. Let's see what this deep roster can do. We're going to definitely make some moves with free agency. We're definitely going to see who else we can add. Solid veterans that are able to come in and add to the experience, add to the foundation. So I'm excited. Y'all should be excited. There's a lot to look forward to. I know this video is long, but hey, I appreciate y'all been on the journey with me. Support. Make sure to continue to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. That's the only way, this grows and continues. But it's a blast doing this every day. This is a joy of my day, regardless of what time of the day I do it. Hey, that's the beauty of it. But I much love to y'all, truly and sincerely. And, go Pels, man. Seriously. We got such a bright future, y'all. I don't think y'all understand. We got such a bright future ahead of us. And as long as we keep building, right? Think about what the legendary James Earl Jones, one of the greatest actors of all time, rest in peace, one of the greatest voices of all time. If you build it, they'll come. That's what he told to that's what he told to Kevin Connery in Field of Dreams. And that's what like the Pelicans are. We're like the Field of Dreams. There's all this potential just laying out there. You build it, they'll come. If we keep building, greatness will come. We keep like Nipsey said, spoke some things in the universe and they appear. Find your purpose. If not, you're wasting air. Don't, I'm paraphrasing because I can't use certain language. But that we just got to keep that mindset going. Victory lap. Speaking of Nip, but I'm rocking the Pac. Only God can judge me. So hey, that needless to say, I'm excited and I want y'all to stay tapped in. Keep showing love in the comment section. Keep doing that. This is one of my favorite parts. This is my favorite part of the video. This is the chance I get to really talk with y'all. But much love, y'all. Again, continue, like, share, subscribe. Have a great day. Spread some love. Watch some Pelicans highlights. Go back and watch Zion put up 40 on the Lakers in 2024. Okay? Go watch that. Please. All right. Anyway, y'all, stay blessed. Stay amazing. I'm out. See y'all next time. Ciao.